What's going on YouTube? So this is the all-new 2022 Acura MDX, which has of course long been one of the best-selling Acura products. Now earlier in the year we sampled the fully loaded advanced trim level MDX, but today we wanted to take a look at this technology trim level, which is positioned right in the middle of the lineup in terms of technology and the price tag. So without further ado, let's go ahead and see if this is the MDX trim level you should buy. So of course, like I just mentioned, the MDX was completely redesigned this year. So you're gonna notice an all new exterior look. When you first walk up to this technology model specifically, you're not gonna notice really anything different or too noticeable from that top end advanced trim level. So up in the front, you've got the large diamond pentagon grille. It's got that black finish in the middle, the gigantic Acura badge, as well as the chrome surrounds. And then as we move over here to the headlights, you will have the fully loaded headlight. All the elements are going to be LED with the jewel eye finish. You also have the chicane, daytime running light, and the LED turn signal. The one thing you might notice though is the lack of fog lights. You would have to get the A-spec or the advanced trim level if you want LED fog lamps. Now as we move over to the wheels, another thing that the technology gives you is 20-inch alloy wheels. So this is actually the biggest size that's available on the MDX. The other trim levels just have different finishes, but on the technology specifically, you have the contrast finish with the gray accents in the middle, and I think they look quite nice. As we move on up here to the mirrors, you've got the chrome accent that runs along them, and the technology has all the features of any MDX mirror, so that will be power folding, heating, as well as blind spot monitoring.
Now here at the side of the MDX, you're probably noticing that this vehicle does have kind of rear drive proportions, even though this is front wheel drive based. And I do want to point out just a few features about it. We have 198 inches in length, which is a little bit longer than the previous generation MDX. And for this middle trim level, you will have no roof rails. You have to go to the advanced to get that. Now, let's talk about the rear design. Really nothing is different about the technology MDX over any other trim level in the rear for this model. So here at the center we have our Acura badge, and then if we look at our taillights, there's going to be some very premium full LED taillights. They have that nice chicane LED design. We have LED turn signal as well as reverse light. Then if we drop down to the lower area, we have nice chrome accenting, and we're also going to have the dual trapezoidal exhaust outlets. And also every MDX will have a 3,500 to 5,000 pound tow rating, depending on if you get front wheel drive or all wheel drive. Now I'm very happy to report that Acura has continued to offer every single safety system standard equipment on the MDX, which is something definitely not seen in its German rivals. So that means you're going to have forward emergency braking with pedestrian detection, lane keeping assist, auto high beam headlamps, as well as adaptive cruise control with a new traffic jam assistant. Now additionally, if you go for at least this trim level and above, that will also throw in low speed front and rear auto braking. Well guys, that wraps up our exterior. We would also really appreciate if you hit that subscribe button down below right now.
Walking up to the MDX, of course you're going to find a standard smart entry system with the brand's newest key fob. With the technology, you don't have remote start. You have to go up to the advanced to get that. And then to get inside, just grab behind the handle. It will unlock and fold the mirrors out. One of the reasons why this is probably such a popular choice is because you get really the entire material and color option selection with this tech model as well. So this does come with the premium Milano leather, and you have the choice between ebony, parchment, gray stone, or this really nice looking espresso brown. And then as we take a look over here at the door trim, it is beautifully appointed as well. So we have the brown leather across all of the armrest area as well as above it. We have this really unique kind of brown bronzy aluminum Really nice looking and feels great. It is soft touch along the top, and we have this gigantic metal speaker grille. As far as the windows, they're one-touch auto up and down for all four, and then every single MDX will have the 3-person memory seating. Coming down here to the seats, most of the MDXs will have this 12-way power adjusting seat. 16-way power adjustment is available on the Advance. And then, like I was mentioning, this is the genuine Milano leather. Really soft, nice feeling leather. I love the design as well, with the perforation that runs down the middle and the stitching details on the side. So this is actually my first time inside the cabin of the new generation MDX technology, and I have to say I'm very impressed, because really the design and a lot of the materials and stuff are very similar to the fully loaded Advance model we were in earlier this year. So across the upper dashboard, this is going to be finished in a leatherette material with the stitching detail, and that does carry on all throughout the top part. As we move down, bending all throughout here, is this brown real aluminum trim. Then you have the piano black accents, more leather that runs all through here, as well as down along the console there for your knee to bump against. And of course, being an Acura product, everything in here does fit together extremely well and feels super solid. Now to start it up, put your foot on the brake and press the aluminum button. And after you fire it up, you will be greeted with the 12.3-inch full digital gauge cluster. This is called Precision Cockpit in Acura speak. And as you can see, it is a full digital setup. Really nice looking graphics. You can change the designs when you switch into different drive modes, like I just did. And then right there in the middle, you've got like the visualization of the car, which has awareness of its surroundings, stuff like that. Really nice and cool. And as we pull back to the steering wheel, we do have the full leather steering wheel. It is actually power adjusting on every single model, which is kind of a nice thing to see in this class of vehicle. However, heating is not going to be available on the technology. You would have to get the Advanced model if you want that option. Let's go ahead and take a look at interior storage. So I'll start out over here at our center console. So if you press this button on the front, this is going to give you a tiny little storage area for I would imagine something small and valuable, maybe some jewelry or something like that. It does have a rubber lining. Then if we open up the main thing here, we can see we have a pretty nicely sized area. It's nice and deep. There's a rubber lining at the bottom, 12-volt outlet, and a USB port. And let's see how the coupons fit. Yeah, so they're going to fit in there with almost no problem at all, just a little fold. Now, in addition to that, you got your 2 cup holders. You have a little storage cubby right there. And then the other part of your storage is going to be this right here. This is actually a wireless phone charging pad, which is big enough to fit any type of phone. You can slide it right underneath of there. You have the little pad right here to rest your arm as you use the Acura controller for the infotainment system. Now that we're down here in this area, though, let's go ahead and talk about the buttons next to it. Those will be for your audio system. So you have some physical skip controls, and then you have your volume knob, which will control on most of the models, including this technology, a 12-speaker ELS Studio sound system. You get a more advanced 16-speaker 3D version if you choose the A-Spec or the Advance. But let's go ahead and sample this standard ELS. Wow, so overall sound quality of this system is really top-notch. Strong sound quality, really fills up this large cabin well. Alright, so now let's move on up here to our shifter. As you can see, this is a push-button style shifter. So you just press the circle for drive. You do have paddle shifters built into the steering wheel. And then for reverse, you're just going to pull back on the trigger. So with the technology model, you're going to get the standard backup camera that does still include active trajectory, as you can see, as well as a few different angles down there on the bottom. You also have a parking sensor visualization, so you have front and rear parking sensors with a tech. And then for park, just press the P. Off to the side, you have the button to turn on and off your auto start stop, your brake hold, and then this right here actually brings out 2 more USB ports, one of them being a Type-C. Above that, you have the big dynamic mode controller that changes your different drive modes. And then all through the center panel in the piano black, you have a lot of different climate controls. So we do have the 3-zone automatic climate control set up. Obviously, adjusting the temperature is going to be as easy as bringing this metal toggle up and down. And as you can see, it does glow when you make those adjustments. You can adjust the rear by clicking on that button right there. And then down below that, you will find 3-stage heated seats. They do have the automatic function, and those are included on every single version of the MDX. If you want ventilation, that's going to require the A-Spec or the Advanced. Alright, so now that brings us up here to the infotainment system. So this is Acura's true touchpad infotainment system setup. We do have a 12.3-inch display that's included on every version of this model. As you can see, it does have a really nice and crisp resolution, but given the distance of how far it is away from me, you probably get the impression that you cannot touch it, and that indeed is the case. This is not a touch screen. You do use that true touchpad controller with the one-to-one relationship with the screen down there on the console to control the system. As far as things to look at, we are going to have a built-in navigation system when we go for the technology model that we have today. And then you have built-in Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, both of which have wireless capability. Heading on up here, you will find a frameless auto-dimming mirror with 3 HomeLink universal remotes. Of course, you do have the LED lighting. And then up here at the top, once again, even though this is one of the more affordable MDX models, you will continue to find a standard panoramic sunroof.
Well, hey guys, I'm back here in the second row of the MDX technology, and I have to say I'm very, very impressed. We have actually reviewed the MDX Advance earlier this year, and sitting back here for the technology model, it really has all the same great characteristics that that model had. So let's go ahead and talk about the space first. We have 39 inches of legroom, 38 inches of headroom. As you can see, that is plenty of space. That is right on par with the Lexus RX, Audi Q7. Behind Drew's seating position, I'm looking at 7 inches or so of legroom. My feet can easily slide up underneath the seat. You can also recline the seats, and you can also slide them forward and back to maximize whatever different utility you need. Now, I do want to point this out because every MDX is going to come standard with this bench seating combination. That said, they do have a special trick up their sleeve, so this middle seat right here can be completely removed, and then that would give you captain's chairs for the second row. It also does more than just function as a middle seat though, because you can pull this strap right here, and then that folds this down, and then that gives you a really nice central armrest. You have a nice armrest, and then you have 2 cup holders inside as well as more storage in here. So if you don't need that extra seat and you want a nice armrest, this does work for that. So they call this the multi-function middle seat. Now, as far as the features that they've thrown in, there is actually still a lot of features for this tech model. We have our climate controls down here. That's going to be standard on every single model. We have our vents down below that. Then if we drop down further below, we have a 12-volt outlet. We have 2 charging USB ports. And then off to the right side, that would be where your household outlet is on the higher end model. And then here on the door trim, we have a nice rear window sunshade. Now the third row in the MDX is also quite nice, so let's go ahead and hop back there. Acura has made it extremely easy, so you just push this button right here. That will fold the seat forward, slide it out of the way. It's still to this day probably the easiest way to get into a third row, so I really applaud Acura for keeping that around. And then as far as getting back here, now, this is not the largest third row that you can get in the segment. It's 29 inches of legroom, 36 inches of headroom. That does put it right on par with what it competes against. It's definitely going to be larger than like an RXL It's also going to be about the same size as the Audi Q7, so it's not abnormally small, but it's just not massive like a big, large luxury three-row. But as far as the amenities, we do have cup holders here on the side, as well as some lighting. However, we do not have any vents. Now, walking up to the cargo area, of course, this is also a very important part of any three-row SUV. You will have a standard power tailgate across all MDX models. You do have to go to the advanced trim level to get the hands-free function though, so on this model, just push the button to open up. And let's talk space. So we have 16 cubic feet behind the third row seats. If you fold those down, that goes up to 39 cubic feet of space. And as a full maximum, you have 71 cubic feet. That is an increase over the previous generation MDX by quite a bit. And it does put it right in line with Audi Q7 as well as Volvo XC90 now. So that's a really nice touch. As far as the amenities you get on the technology, we have a 12-volt outlet here on the left side. And then as far as the third row, it is going to be manually folding, but they have really made it quite simple to fold that seat down, so I don't think any of you guys are going to have a big problem with that. And then we do also have quite a bit of storage kind of underneath of the cargo floor right here on the left side as well as in the middle. Now, your passenger seat will actually retain most of the adjustments of the driver. We even have the four-way power lumbar support, so it's really quite nice. And we also have three-person memory, and that's even on this technology trim. I'm very surprised to see that. And then over here on the left side, I do want to point this out before I forget about it. There is a 12-volt outlet. And then if we pop open the glove box, we have a really nice one. It's nicely felt lined. It fits our coupons in there, no problems. It really just feels like a very luxurious glove box. And then up top, we have a sun visor, we have some lighting as well as a mirror, and we can also detach it as well as extend it.
So we're kind of clustered in a bit of traffic here to start off with, but I was just kind of accelerating like most people that are driving an MDX will do. And that makes use of the buttery smooth 3.5 liter V6 engine. It's going to be making 290 horsepower, 267 pound-feet of torque, which is certainly more than enough in this class of vehicle.
Yeah.
Like I said, it just has a really smooth and refined feel as you move through traffic.
Yeah, that's really one of the most beautiful things about the MDX is just how smooth and refined it is when you get behind the wheel. And the engine is a huge part of that just because it has that level of refinement. And also it's pretty powerful as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it gets this thing moving at a perfectly fine rate. Of course, coming up, there's going to be a Type S for those of you who are speed junkies.
I'm very looking forward to that.
Yeah,
I will tell you.
That's going to be really cool. But like I said, for the vast majority of people, you're going to be driving this pretty casually because this is a very luxury-focused machine. Now, as far as the transmission, this does have the Honda in-house 10-speed automatic. And of course, you have standard front-wheel drive or optional super handling all-wheel drive. With this new generation of the super handling all-wheel drive system, it does have a rear bias. So especially when you go into the sport mode, you're dealing with, I believe, 70% of the torque being sent to the rear wheel, so that kind of gives you a more athletic feel that maybe wasn't present with the previous generation version.
Yeah. And, like you mentioned, it is available front-wheel drive or optional SH all-wheel drive. That means that there are only 2 fuel economy figures, so for front drive, you're looking at 22 miles a gallon combined, and if you opt for SH all-wheel drive, that's going to be 21 miles per gallon combined.
Put it in the sport mode here, check that out.
Yeah, I mean,
quite nicely. I like the sound of the exhaust as well. Now, as far as like your, handling, dynamic, stuff like that, we are in the sport mode. It does make the steering a little bit heavier. In the default setting, the steering is very, very light. Very comfortable, and stuff like when you're moving around a parking lot, making tight maneuvers, you don't have to put a lot of effort in. Like I said, the sport mode tightens it up. This is not going to be like a super sporty SUV any way you cut it until we get to the Type S. Of course, the Type S is going to bring a whole new dimension to the MDX. But as far as with this technology package, you're looking at a very comfortable, nice riding. That's the important part of it.
And
sure.
We haven't really talked a lot about the ride quality. I mean, Drew's kind of really hit on it already by saying it's very comfortable. So I'm not going to beat a dead horse too much here, but the seats are extremely comfortable. The ride quality is absolutely phenomenal. And I mean, there's really just so much to like when it comes to the comfort of this MDX. You do have that new double wishbone suspension for this all-new MDX model. And like we've been talking about, the Type S will have an air suspension to even further elevate your ride quality and dynamics. So the MDX really knocks it out of the park in terms of comfort.
And Mason can go ahead and get the sound level reading.
Looking at 58.6 decibels. That's a really good reading, and it is extremely windy outside. I'm sure you've probably seen it throughout the entire video, blowing our hair around. It looks ridiculous, but
yeah, it's like 35 mile an hour gusts right now, so
it's very quiet.
Exactly, it's still very insulated in here despite the exterior circumstances.
Alright guys, and let's go ahead and do our airball and slam dunk for today. Today's slam dunk, I think it's really kind of been repeated throughout this video. It's gotta just be the value. This MDX really posed a value at almost any trim level within the lineup, and this technology I think is the best buy in the MDX lineup if you're looking for like a really good price point. You are missing a few features, but really this is almost as nice as what you get in the Advance. There is so much equipment for the price point, which I will talk about in just a second, but it really impresses for this price.
And then as far as the airball is concerned, I believe this is probably the same airball we said when we drove the advanced version of the MDX. It is the infotainment screen lacking touchability. Some people don't like to use this controller. Whether or not you get used to it or not, I feel like it should also be a touchscreen. All they had to do was move it a little closer, like right up here to the edge, and make it a touchscreen like they do in some of the Lexus products, and it would have made things a lot easier to use for every type of person, no matter which thing you prefer.
And let's go ahead and talk about the pricing. I was just talking about that earlier. So the base model is going to start at $46,900. The technology, $51,600. A spec is $57,100, and Advance is $60,650. And this one, as equipped, we have SH all-wheel drive on the technology model, plus the 1,045 destination is coming in at $55,445. So, like I've mentioned, very, very good price point for what you're getting.
Right, and in conclusion, like we said, we asked at the beginning, is this the best value MDX that you can buy? I think throughout this video, it seems to support that it actually is. Honestly, I see I don't know what percentage, but it seems like really high percentage of them are shipped out and sold in the technology trim level. And now that I've driven this, I can really understand why. It feels very, very similar to the Advance model. You still have a lot of luxury and a lot of equipment. There's only just a few feature differences that you may or may not care about, but if you're not super attached to something like a 360 camera, for instance, then this right here is a really obvious choice to save a little bit of money and still get that really nice luxury experience.
Well guys, that's all for our in-depth review of the 2022 Acura MDX technology. If you enjoyed this video, found it helpful, or both of the above, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below if you haven't already. Join our family. It doesn't cost you a thing, and all it's going to do is give you notifications on our most recent content, so why wouldn't you want to do that? So go ahead and do it. Also, follow us on our other social medias like TikTok and Instagram. We have other forms of content on there, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.